Welcome to the SaaStock How-To series, in which we aim to answer questions posed by our community and to give you 3 actionable takeaways. I'm Alex Theuma, CEO of SaaStock, which helps SaaS companies get traction, grow, and scale through our community, conferences, and content. And today, I'm delighted to be joined by Farlan Dowell, VP of Sales at Cleanshelf. How's it going, Farlan?
Great, good to be with you, and excited to hopefully share some useful knowledge here.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will, Farlan. So I thought of you when we've been asking our community all these questions throughout 2020. One of the topics that they really want to learn about is how to gain traction on long sales cycles. So I thought I'd reach out to you to ask the question.
Yeah, great, good one. So there's a lot there to unpack. Just to make sure that everybody gets a few takeaways, let me summarize up front. So gaining traction during a long sales cycle and ultimately closing the deal, you had better have a champion and you had better know what's going on internally at that company. That's the first one. Second one is you need to know where you stand in the deal. So BANT, budget, authority, timing, need is dead. That's old world software. Deal analysis, I use MEDDIC or MEDDPIC, and you can Google it. It's a deal evaluation methodology, MEDD. PICC, and you can see what each of those stands for. I'll go into a couple of them that are really important. And then add value. Don't just ask for stuff. Make sure that you're teaching. Make sure that you're sharing knowledge, and make sure that you're actually giving the client things that are prospect, things that are useful in the deal. So let's go into those. The first one is, anytime you have a long sales cycle, there's a lot happening internally. Now, if you have a long sales cycle and you have silence internally, golden rule, silence is never golden. Silence is not good. So communication should be fluid and information should be coming back and forth. Every time you do a deal, it's the same but different. And the differences lie in there's different people in that company, and it's a different company setup. So you need to understand what's happening on their side. Useful questions to ask your champion. What is the process to do a deal internally on your side? How does that work? Who are the folks that are involved? What are the channels that need to approve it? Things like that. So you need to unpack that. What is the deal decision criteria, right? And where's the criteria from your side? And where's the criteria from this person's side and this stakeholder side? So if you have one person that you're dealing with and you're with them the whole time and there's not that much communication, you're not in a good place. What I would try to do is you need to multi-thread the deal. So having multiple stakeholders internally that you're dealing with is a huge bonus and actually a must-have in long deal cycles. So let's just say you're dealing with the VP Finance, and the VP Finance says, I have budget control, I have, this is my success criteria, this is, I'm going to approve the deal, et cetera, et cetera. It's rarely the case that it stands with one person. And by the way, here's an inside tip. If somebody says they have authority and they have budget control and they're the one person, they're usually not. The person who has ultimate budget authority and negotiation power would never tell you that, because that's putting them in a really vulnerable situation. What the person in power will do is they'll always defer to somebody else, and it's a negotiation tactic, right? So, if I'm the CFO and I'm negotiating with you, I don't want to be in a position where I'm on the phone and it comes to me and I have to be bad cop and I have to say, we need this, we need that. We'll say, I'll probably defer to the CEO, and the CEO, he'll say, CEO wants no auto renewal, we need a 20% discount, blah, 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 right? So there's little tells, but let me get back to the point. So you're dealing with the VP Finance. If you're stuck there and you say, hey, the CFO is going to sign, they have budget authority, can we get them involved? Should we do a demo? Should we do this, right? Like you definitely want to be pitching to them. You don't want somebody internally selling to them directly. They're going to sell for you if they're a strong champion, but you want to make sure that you give your best pitch and you extol the benefits of your product and understand where their head's at and what their decision criteria is, what they care about. So let's just say you can't get, like, here's my answer, multi-threading, right? You got to get to, you've got to get a bunch of people involved, but let's just say you get stuck at that stakeholder. You could have somebody on your side, let's just say your CEO, or let's just say your VP sales, reach out to them, right? So that would not be good if the VP finance said, no, this is just going to stay with me. The CFO doesn't want to get involved. That's a tough place to be, and you couldn't actually directly reach out to the CFO. It would be kind of just a breach of, it's just not good protocol at all. And the VP finance would be pissed, and they should be. So get somebody else at a higher level to reach out in your organization. Hey, so Frank, hey, I know you're dealing with, working with Farlan, it's great, you're in good hands, but I just wanted to reach out to let you know about ABC. Let me know if it's interesting, right? So you want to create multiple connections internally. Having a champion and having a strong champion who knows how to do deals is huge. I mentioned this up front. They're going to tell you what's going on internally. So in a long deal cycle, maybe there's nothing going on internally and this is a deal that's just not a deal. But usually there's stuff going on internally. There's conversations happening. So what are the competitors they're looking at? And by the way, a competitor could be do nothing. A competitor could be, just stick to the solution they have. Or maybe it's not a solution, they're just going to do what they've kept doing. So you need to know what their value. I'll give you an example. And then I'll give you a couple of minutes to kind of unpack a couple other things, maybe ask a question. But I was pretty late in the deal cycle. This is a couple companies ago. I was late in the deal cycle with, we're selling to a games company, and big deal. My champion came to me and said, hey, our CFO actually thinks we should build this internally, right? I said, okay, well, what if we get our head of professional services on the line to let them know the trade-offs of doing that, because he's actually working with companies directly. And in some cases, they have their own system, they've built it, and he's helping them just get the analysis. He said, that's a great idea. So he was able to get everybody on their side that they needed to get on the phone. And then I brought what was a pretty valuable resource to give them some information. And that call went really well. Building usually sucks for 98% of companies if they build it themselves rather than buy. That was pretty funny. At the end of the call, I said, hey, is that what you needed? Does that help? And I piped up. Somebody said, yep, check's in the mail. So it went well, right? But if I didn't have a champion, I didn't know what was going on internally, I'm fucked. Sorry, your deal's done. That things are happening on their side, and you're in the dark. So there's a few things for you. There's a few things for you to chew on.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then to summarize in sort of three takeaways. So having a champion, then we've got you mentioned sort of medic and medpic. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And folks can Google those. And then sort of lastly, what was your third sort of takeaway? Multi-thread.
Make sure that you're dealing with multiple folks internally. And then there's a couple other things sprinkled in there in terms of, know what's happening on their side, make sure you're adding value, and communication should be fluid. If it's not, it's a red flag. When
very quickly, sort of just conscious of time here, when should you give up on a long sales cycle deal? At what point? Is it at the point of when there is no response? What do you think?
Yeah. So driving a deal to a yes is optimal, but in some cases, even more optimal is driving it to a no. I love to get a no. Actually, a no is progress. because usually after a no is a why. So I would send, if I haven't heard from them in a while and I've sent a few emails, I would send an email to my main contact and I would just say something very candid and almost blunt. Has this initiative been deprioritized, or is this an initiative anymore? And in your communication, make sure, executive level communication is very brief and very effective. I find sales rep communication to be overly polite and long-winded, and it just doesn't need to be. So I would just send a one-liner saying, has this initiative been deprioritized? Is this an initiative anymore? And they'll usually respond. And then move on, because you've got lots of deals, and the success of a rep is based on where you spend your cycles, and as a VP of sales, you have to be very attuned to what's happening in each of these deals, because you don't want to be that VP of sales that goes to the board every quarter and says, oh yeah, all these deals pushed. When all these deals push, they're usually what I like to call dead carcasses.
Okay, awesome. Well, Farlan, thank you so much for answering the question on how to get traction on long sales cycles. Once again, thanks for sharing with the SaaStock community.
Reach out to me on LinkedIn. Would love to hear from you. Let me know if it's useful. Thanks a lot, Alex. Good to be with you.